Hi, welcome back to PMC Knives and Tools. And today we're looking at the ubiquitous Victorinox Swiss Army knife. Now, in front of us are the 6 models that I own currently. I have had various Victorinox Swiss Army knives over the years. These are the ones that I have at this moment in time. I also have the Victorinox Swiss Plus multi-tool, which in my opinion is the best multi-tool on the market of all brands, and I own quite a lot of multi-tools. Anyway, on to Swiss Army knives. So from left to right we have the Mini Champ, which is this guy here. Now the Mini Champ is the one that I use when I'm travelling, and I recently took this abroad to the Canary Isles in my suitcase. It has an awful lot of functionality in a very, very small keyring sized package. It's the same size height-wise as the Victorinox Classic SD, but with a lot more tools packed in there, including this neat little retractable pen. Now, that's not one that I carry very often at home out and about in the UK, but it is the one that I always take with me travelling, and it is also the one that I use at home as my nail file and nail trimming kit. This guy here is the Victorinox Spartan. This one I mentioned in my recent UK EDC what I'm currently carrying video. Now this one is in the black scales rather than the classic Victorinox red Celador. I got this a couple of years ago on sale for £16. The reason I bought it was really because the price was appealing, and I didn't realise at that time that it would become my most carried Swiss Army knife. Not necessarily my favourite Swiss Army knife, which is probably this guy here, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But it is my most carried. I think because it was pretty cheap, it's very light, and it has a good tool set in a very small, thin package. That's why it finds its way into my pocket so often, and I'm very fond of it. And if you look at the blade there, you'll see how many times that guy has been sharpened. It's really taken there's actually a belly worn out of the belly of the blade there from just repeated sharpening. Still razor sharp, and still has a nice mirror face despite all the scratches. And that's one that I just throw in my pocket all the time, and I don't need to feel guilty about using and abusing it because it wasn't expensive, and it, it's the humble Spartan. It's a underrated member of the Victorinox family. This guy here was a present from my dear old mum. This is the Victorinox Huntsman in olive wood scales. Now this one sadly has gotten a little scratched in my pocket. I had a Gerber Chonk pry tool in my pocket alongside it, and it's sadly scratched the surface. Now I could sand that out and re-oil it. Maybe I'll do that one of these days. The Huntsman is a great tool set, and it was probably my favourite at one point. Certainly the wood scales definitely made it a favourite of mine. It's just a lovely build quality, and I have just a little suspension pocket clip on there, which is what I tend to use on my Victorinoxes. I do have one of those pocket clips that screw in and act like a more traditional pocket knife pocket clip, but I took it off again. It's not my favourite. This is the classic red Celador Victorinox Swiss Army knife. This is the Fieldmaster, which is an identical tool set to the Huntsman, except instead of the corkscrew on the Huntsman, on the back you get a Phillips 2, which is just fantastic. That's what you want. That's really the best tool set for me. Shame they all have the dumbass parcel hook, but hey, maybe they'll get rid of that one day. Everything you want on here. Great saw, great knife, pen blade, great scissors, can opener, cap lifter. Oh, out of focus there. Phillips screwdriver, what more can you say? Oh, and an awl, of course. Fantastic, love that one. And that was a present from my lovely wife. So this one here, I've mentioned before, I think I did a whole video about it actually. This was a custom build from a guy in the US, in Tennessee. It's a Victorinox with a Spyderco blade. Technically, it's a bird blade, but that is Spyderco's sub-brand. It's the blade from a bird tern, and it's been completely custom built and acid washed for me. That was really expensive, about £300. It's got Pacific Suns titanium plus scales meaning that it's got the usual toothpick and tweezer, but it also has the Victorinox pen. I do carry this one, I do use this one, but honestly, given the amount that I spent on it, I do have a sort of mental block in my head a little bit about being careful with it, and sometimes I'm pretty footloose and fancy free with how I use my pocket tools. So sometimes, you know, I put them through a little bit of abuse. I can be pretty rough on them, as my dear old Spartan will attest. Just look at the blade on this guy for evidence of that. You know, some of my pocket doesn't have much of a tip left either. Some of my pocket knives don't have a tip left from prying, using them as a makeshift pry tool and stuff like that. So I am always cautious when I carry my Victorinox that it was very, very expensive. Now that's probably a me issue, and it is something I should probably get over. But in the 2 years or so that I've owned it, I've never quite managed to get past that. I have carried it extensively in that time, but in that time I have also found that had I ever commissioned a knife again, I would do it slightly differently. There's certain things that I would have done slightly differently. But that's not to say I don't like it, and that's not to say I don't love it. I absolutely do. And having a one-handed opening Spyderco bladed Swiss Army knife is, you know, you can't go wrong with that. This was based on the body of a compact, and with an acid wash tool set that I picked specifically, and scales that I picked specifically. Sadly, the only non-negotiable part from the builder was that it had, he said, to have the parcel hook. He couldn't figure out a way to have it without that in it. And I've seen lots of other builders build them without that since, so maybe I would have gone with a different builder next time, if I ever do go and get a custom built Swiss Army knife again. Anyway, onwards and onwards. And this is the Victorinox Pioneer Alox X, or Pioneer X Alox. So Alox is the aluminium scales, Pioneer is the model, and the X denotes the fact that it comes with scissors. Hence X. So this is probably my favourite Swiss Army knife that I own of my Victorinoxes. In terms of build quality, how tactile it is, the tool set's pretty basic, but very covers all bases. And that, in fact, that's one of the reasons I'm so fond of the Spartan. Spartan actually has more tools and is a damn sight cheaper and a tiny bit smaller, 2mm smaller, 91mm versus 93mm. But I like the fact that both are quite minimalist and can do a lot with the very few tools on hand. And that's one of the things I love about them. I also love the weight. You know, it's about twice the weight of a Spartan, and the tactile nature of the Alox scales. That's also why I picked these Pacific Suns titanium scales on my Victorinox, because they're very tactile and that feels nice in the hand. Nice and grippy, but also very satisfying. So there you go, that's my current Victorinox Swiss Army knives at the minute. A 53mm, 4 91mm and a 93mm. Have a great day, take care.